being
a
the
defensive
best
tackle.
being the best player on a defense that ran a 3-4 and had him at nose tackle for some stupid ass reason. Like Fletcher Cox would have more sacks in a Tampa Bay type scheme. Like that's why there's certain cats who are great and they won't probably make the Hall of Fame, but they were great. Like Fletcher Cox is an amazing talent. One of the best D tackles easily since he came into the league. Him,
sure.
Gerald McCoy, Cam Jordan is more recently now a defensive end, but you won't really consider him a defensive end in the concept of 4-3.
Jarrell Casey has 46 sacks, 4 Pro Bowls, but he's also a defensive tackle, 5 technique.
Yeah, but he as a defensive end or a defensive tackle in a 4-3 scheme, he's perfect. But unfortunately, a lot of cats don't get to play in a scheme that suits them. They kind of just have to figure out how to be elite. And that's just the new thing now. Like a lot of cats,
Even Chris Long, who's played 2 years longer than Cam Jordan, only has 70 sacks, so he has about a sack and a half less.
and he's still producing at an elite level. I look at a guy like Everson Griffin, who if he gets his head back on right again, I would say he could be one of the.
Is he better than Clay Matthews?
No. There's two different players.
Matthews has 83 sacks and
I
a
look
Super Bowl.
at Cam Jordan as a defensive tackle who's athletic enough and good enough to play defensive end.
But I'm just saying, when you look back at this generation and you start having to make those votes, like these are the people that we're going to be comparing.
They're different
to.
players, though. They're different players. It's
Good
like,
Lord. Julius Peppers has 160 sacks.
yeah, Julius Peppers is the first ballot Hall of Famer.
Holy shit.
He was like, he's the one dude who was good enough to be a 3-4 outside linebacker, still produced 3-4 in, still produced.
Yeah,
he
I
played
know,
everywhere.
but still, dude has twice as many sacks as Clay Matthews?
Yes, Julius Peppers is the monster. Put
That's
some
wild
respect.
to me.
Bro, he almost won them the Super Bowl. That's why that Panthers defense. The Panthers never winning a Super Bowl hurts me.
I mean, Gerald McCoy almost has 60 sacks as a D tackle. So, but yeah, man, Cam Jordan's definitely up there. Probably one of the best players at his position.
Probably has like a good another 4 or 5 years left.
I don't know if he's gonna be. He's gotta have double digit sack.
The rest
He's
of his
gotta
career-
hit. He's gotta hit over 100.
I have a question for you
Sure.
too. So when you guys talk about the best, player or for a certain position, what are the 3 factors that you
Robert
guys?
Quinn has 76.
What are
70
the 3
sacks.
factors that you guys look at to determine what makes a good player?
Well, first,
technique.
what I look at is, are they the best player in their era? So I compare them to other people who played at the same time as them, same position. What is your impact? Like we always say, what was your impact? Did you win? Did you not win? Did you carry your team? Did you not carry your team? And then after that, it's kind of stats. Okay, did you play the game complete? Were you only a sack guy? Did you get tackles? Did you, what are your numbers like? And then lastly, what I look at, and maybe this isn't what other people look at, is kind of like adversity. Like, okay, where did you start? Were you a first round pick? Were you not a first round pick? Did you go through shit in your career? Did you not go through shit? Because, I always side with players who went through shit.
Situation?
I always side with players who went through shit or who made an impact outside of the field, or guys who maybe fell off track and got back on track. Those are the players that I personally look at.
Yeah, I don't ever consider off the field because you don't make it in the NFL Hall of Fame by what you do off the field.
No, but I'm just saying
Yeah.
that's what makes
Yeah.
my favorite players.
Yeah,
That's
So what are your
my
3?
preference are.
It goes to skill and technique, stats, production, and the circumstance and how you got your stats and production. Like if you played around a bunch of Hall of Famers, but you really never made that much of a difference, you just racked up stacks, it's hard for me to really consider you a Hall of Famer.
So same with Pete. So skills,
Yeah.
stats,
Like,
and impact.
I'll give you an example. Torrey
It's the
Holt is a
same
Hall
thing, but it's a different way of looking at it.
Like Torrey Holt is a Hall of Fame receiver, but there are receivers with over 10,000 receiving yards who I wouldn't put in the Hall of Fame.
It's context for the culture.
Like, there's like, if like Wes Welker ends up getting some consideration, I'm like, no. He was a slot receiver. He got fed passes. He was never an elite player. He just was fed passes from the slot. Like, if you get a guy who was only given the ball at the goal line, like, you can take a Warrick Dunn. He was never really given the ball on the goal line. He had a lot of touchdowns taken from him, but I still think he was a great player, if you can't compare him to players of years past. But are you transcendent? That's like one of the things. Are you a transcendent player at your position? You can't.
Did you make the way for other people behind you?
Yeah, and if like, were you the best player when you played? Like Torrey Holt, Hall of Famer. Isaac Bruce, Hall of Famer. They were one of the best receivers in the leagues when they played, and people like to use time against them when they were great and elite in their time. Terrell Owens, one of the 3 best receivers of all time. Jason Witten, great player, not really a top 5 tight end of all time to me. Probably top 6.
I mean, like you said, there's always going to be those
Gronk,
players.
Shannon Sharp, Tony Gonzalez, no particular order.
How about dude for the Titans?
I know who you're talking about.
The one who's playing right now.
Delaney Walker.
Delaney Walker.
He's put together a nice resume. It's unfortunate because certain catchers are going to get looked over. Like,
well,
Delaney Walker's probably going to get looked over.
It's like Michael Vick is one of the greatest players we've ever seen with our eyes, and
will he be in the Hall of Fame?
He probably will never get in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, Devin Hester, greatest special teams player of all time, should be in the Hall of Fame. Did he have a good career as a receiver? Hell no. Not at all. Not even close.
I mean, I don't even think McNabb is in the Hall of Fame, right?
McNabb is in the Hall of Fame, but he's better. I think McNabb was better than Troy Aikman.
I don't think there's
a Hall of Fame offensive line, a Hall of Fame defense, Hall of Fame receivers and offense, and it's.
But that's also why it's hard to like really compare players outside of eras because
McNabb was a better quarterback.
The game is different though.
He did way more with way less.
I'm not disagreeing with you, but all I'm saying is that the era was different.
Yeah, I think that really comes up when older players who should have been put in already aren't put in.
It's the same,
like
though.
When Art Monk waited forever to get in. And
it's like I was talking about the zone scheme. It's like what you're talking about with, like, the West Coast offense. It was like there was only a handful of teams running the West Coast offense in the 80s. In the 90s and the 2000s, everyone's running.
That's not their fault, though. That's innovation.
That's partly, but it's also
the people who are innovative.
It's partly
you don't punish the people who were great and they just weren't great in that.
I
context.
get that too, but at the same time, it's like, okay, if you're going against, it's like the whole Jared Goff argument. Is it Jared Goff? Is it Sean McVay? It's like the same thing with Troy Aikman. Is what you're saying is like, is it scheme or was it Troy Aikman? We don't know. We don't know because the scheme was so new.
His talent
and the talent was all around him.
His talent was good, but. Was Troy Aikman ever a top 10 quarterback statistically? No. Go look at the stats.
No, he wasn't.
Not even close. So you weren't even the best quarterback in the league, bro.
But he did win.
You handed the ball off to the all-time leading rusher. You threw it to a Hall of Fame receiver. You had Jay Novacek. You had a Hall of Fame offensive line. You had Deion Sanders, Darren Woodson, Everson Walls, who I think had 12 picks in 1 year or something like that. You had a monster defense. Like, bro. And then you had Jimmy Johnson. But anyway, that's why I think that comes into play. But it's also different when it comes to coaches and the Hall of Fame.
All right, so we've been full of tangents this episode, so we got to keep it moving. Other news updates this week. I know you wanted to get to the minicamp stuff. People sitting out of minicamp, Jadaveon Clowney.
Yannick Ngakoue, who should definitely sit out. But he went to OTAs, which is voluntary, and decided to skip mandatory.
Which is weird. It's like becoming a new trend. I don't.
He wanted to be a team player. I get that. It's voluntary, but then we're supposed to show up. No, I'm not going to show up. You need to pay me, and I agree. He's like one of the. I think he's two.
I think it's got to be
like 8 sacks. It's got to be all-time.
It's got to be a situation where they're showing up to OTAs to get the playbook, and then they just don't want to go to the rest of offseason.
He's almost the all-time sack leader in Jaguars history, and he's only been playing 3 years. And how do you not pay that man?
I don't even think
he was a 3rd-round pick. He ain't getting paid. He maybe get at most $2 million this year. He's not getting paid anything.
I think the other thing is, man, these players are paid so much that they're keeping their bodies in shape 9 months out of the year, and I think a lot of them just don't want to deal with
12 months out of the year.
They don't want to keep dealing with off-season activities, especially if they're not hitting, which they're not hitting anymore. So they're like, really, what am I going to work out in shirt and t-shirts, which is what I can basically do at home
But I wouldn't pay Jadaveon
from the comfort
Clowney.
of my house.
I wouldn't pay Jadaveon Clowney. He's never even had 10 sacks this season.
Other news updates, man. Shout out to Cam Newton. He was giving out a lot of clothes in the community. He always does a lot of stuff, man. Shout out to Deshaun Jackson for
feeding the homeless in Philly.
Before he even returns officially. Also hosting a free minicamp. And shout out to Chargers bowled up head coach Anthony Lynn. He's actually going to Tanzania during the 7-week dead period. He's going to be out there, I think they said, for like 7 to 10 days, building a school out there in Africa. So shout out to him. I believe he just recently had a charity tournament to raise money for that. And then also, some news broke today. The league is still finalizing their PI rule. They had a conference call this week, and basically all the head coaches were bitching like, if it comes within 2 minutes, it should be an automatic challenge, because what if we don't have challenge flags? And then other people were like bitching about having to slow down the game, and like, so the rule's not finalized. They expect the rule to be finalized within the next few weeks, which is basically saying they want to make PI reviewable, but they're trying not to be too reactionary to the whole Saints and Rams situation, which basically sparked the rule. But yeah. And finally, we have Calvin Winslow Jr., who got prison time for raping. Is that raping or taping a 50-year-old?
It said it was raping, but he said he taped a 58-year-old homeless woman having sex, or he had other charges against another woman too.
He has like 12.
Yeah, it's bad.
Yeah, he's a convicted rapist.
Yeah, definitely.
I gotta read this story.
So
I'll read this story
I was
tomorrow.
reading an article, and
really horrible.
And like, I guess today there some news surfaced or some rumors surfaced that in it, like, his other players and his other teammates, they didn't want to like share a room with him because he was known to masturbate in front of roommates and not even care, and like he was like a known like perv. So that's my question. I mean, that's what I was like going back to. What you
There
said,
are
like,
football players out there like that. Like, I knew some guys like that. Like, I'm not gonna call no one out, but
to me, that's so disturbing. Like, the news, like, yeah, him raping someone. That's
the signs
ridiculous.
were there in college.
But my question is,
no, it said he raped a 8-year-old homeless person.
My question is,
exposing himself to another 59-year-old woman in the middle of spring.
If his teammates and people knew about that, why?
As well as lewd gestures to a 77-year-old, like, this man is just a cougar hunter. Like,
he's just a creep.
That's more than a cougar.
Yeah, that's a lot.
No, that's
bro.
a creep. That's a creep.
And he also like.
And
I remember when he was in college, he was like, "I'm a fucking soldier." Like, that dude had issues.
He broke into an
mental,
86 and a 71-year-old house.
Yeah, mental
with the
issues.
intention
he
to
had
rape.
anger issues. He had all types of issues coming out of Miami. Like, yeah, they produced a lot of great players, but that boy was a head case long before this happened. Remember, he said like, "Oh, that wasn't me." He said it was somebody else in a trial. Remember when he got hurt being on the wheelie and tore his ACL up in Cleveland? He was supposed to be like a high pick, and yeah, he came back and had a resurgent career somewhat, but it was never the same, and it was always something with him.
He's just that's a creep.
And it's sad. I feel like there's probably gonna be a 30 for 30 for that, and also a former safety from for the Florida football team, a national title team, who started alongside Reggie
But
Nelson.
my question is, why
His
got convicted
victims
of murder.
ranged
Why didn't no
from
one-
17 to 77.
Wait, say that again.
So the ages of the 5 accusers when they first encountered Winslow ranged from 17 to 77 years old. A hitchhiker, a homeless woman, a woman working in her front yard garden, a high schooler passed out in a house party, and an elderly gym goer.
Yo,
They're not all rape, but they're like intention to rape.
it don't matter. It's
sexual assault.
I'm not.
I mean, I know what you're saying. Like, they're
I'm
not
just,
all.
I'm
like,
just giving further
yeah.
context.
Again, why do people tend to like brush it off and be like, well, that's not my problem. I'm not gonna talk about it. Like if people know, like,
I mean,
he
I
was a
think that's
creep,
why we're here. Let's talk about it. I